Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rico's Rants. I'm your host, Rico DiGiorgio. Tonight, I got a request to do a review of the film The Fundamentals of Caring. Strange title. I never heard of the film before. Panda, this one's for you. So, I had never heard of this film. It just swooped right by me. Never heard of it. Never heard any information about it. But I'm glad it was recommended. I enjoyed watching this film. It stars Paul Rudd, and at first, the beginning, the movie is basically he is a caretaker that he just finished a 6-week course, and he is trying to make this a new job where he becomes a caregiver, a caretaker. Yeah, funny. There's a caretaker and caregiver, but they're the same thing. Anyways, one gives, one takes. Make up your fucking mind. Um, so at the beginning of the film, Paul Rudd very much looks like a depressed character. He looks, and I remember I was texting the person who recommended this to me and wanted me to do the review, and I said, "Oh, this is gonna be a sad movie. I know I'm gonna cry. Look how depressed he is. I mean, he's just not smiling. He's just morose." Um, and she basically implied, like, you may cry once. Okay, so already this film intrigues me because immediately it doesn't look. It looks like something, and then it quickly became something else. He's a caretaker to an 18-year-old boy who has a form of paralysis. He has a muscular dystrophy type thing. He's in an electronic wheelchair. This kid, Trevor, is British. He and his, he was born in America, raised in England, and they came back to America. And he's a very sardonic, sarcastic kid who is aware that he's probably not going to live to 30. He's a very rare condition. And he immediately, first introduction to him meeting Paul Rudd's being interviewed by the mother. And he just comes right in his wheelchair, goes right up to Paul Rudd, and he is pretending to be mentally retarded. And he's doing the very stereotypical, and the mother just looks bored. And at first you're like, what the fuck is going on? The mother just like, Trevor, stop. Don't be rude. And you're thinking like, bitch, like he's retarded. What do you? And he just looks at Paul Rudd and cracks up. And he's like, oh, this kid's a little bastard. He loves to fuck with people. And that immediately Paul Rudd's just kind of like, I was not, like he almost is freaking out for a second, and then he at the same time he's just kind of like, I'm not fazed. I'm depressed. Nothing phases me. This kid affects him in a major way. He frequently throughout the film he fucks with him, and he pretends to like choke. And he's just like, ha ha ha, that's very funny. You're choking. Oh, you got me again. And then he still is pretending to choke. And he's just like, oh shit. And he pulls over. They're driving. And he pulls over. And he starts patting him on the chest and trying, do the Heimlich. And the kid starts laughing. He's like, you scared the shit out of me. Don't do that. And that's their relationship. Immediately, the relationship is very much, how would you wipe my ass? Is the question that he asks Ben, who is Paul Rudd's character. He's like, if I shit my pants, how would you wipe my ass? And Paul Rudd just kind of looks at him and says, I would wipe your ass until there's no more shit in your ass. And then Trevor looks at his mother and says, he's the one. And then wheels away. So, for a little while, Ben takes care of Trevor, who needs constant maintenance. He needs a breathing machine when he sleeps. He needs constant medicine. On top of all that, this kid is very anxious, but it's very sardonic, and he also is terrified of trying things outside his routine. Like he eats, he only eats one sausage and two uh, waffles, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. That's what he has, and it's those types of eccentricities that Paul Rudd has to deal with. And they do this for a couple weeks, and every day the kid is watching, like, he gets fascinated by America's roadside attractions, like the world's biggest cow, and really ultimately his biggest one that he, like, his Bigfoot essentially, or his Holy Grail, the one that he really wants to see is the world's biggest pit. And it's basically like these scientists had decided they were going to try and dig a hole to China, and they basically made a giant hole in the ground, which filled up and became a lake essentially. So Paul Rudd is going through his own shit. His marriage has ended, and we find out, spoilers, there's going to be spoilers in the film, I'll try not to spoil too much, but his son had died at one point, and that's why, then we quickly find out that's why he's depressed. And his wife wants a divorce, and he's not ready to sign the divorce papers. It's been 3 years, and he just can't say goodbye. He just can't let go, and acknowledge his son's death and the fact that he is in the middle of a divorce. And so, where they don't specifically say it outright, there's a lot of allusions and a lot of innuendos and a lot of accusations of him being a caretaker to fulfill the I lost my son, I need to do something in my life, I need to pay back the universe, or fix himself as well as caring for someone else. And that brings us to the beginning of the film when he's in the middle of training. His instructor says, it is absolutely important that you care for the person you're caring for, but you also care for yourself. So immediately in the first 30 seconds, we're told the plot of the film. He's taking care of someone else, he's taking care of himself. And ultimately, Ben helps Trevor more than I would imagine. Trevor is the one who, has not experienced life. Ben has. He knows the good things in life that can happen. And at this point, he starts pushing Trevor and being like, don't you get tired of just eating the same shit and sitting and watching your TV? Why don't we go out and go find these places? Let's go find the world's biggest cow. Let's go find the world's biggest pit. And of course, he's just like, no, I can't do that. Are you kidding me? He's like, you're gonna waste. You will waste your life, as little of the life that you have. You're wasting it by just imagining what you want to do. Just do it. And there's a lot of sarcastic responses. They at this point, you would say, if someone said to me, if I shit my pants, how would you wipe my ass? I wouldn't know what to say. But they are so, in their own weird way, damaged and sardonic and just sort of like raw, that they're able to have a really good rapport and banter with each other. And they fuck with each other, and it's a very caring. It's not a father-son relationship. It's very much a I'm your friend and I happen to wipe your ass type of relationship. And it's not a father-son relationship because Trevor's father abandoned him when he got his diagnosis when he was 3. So for the past 15 years, he has not known his father, but has been getting letters from his father. And he doesn't read them, and at one point, Paul Rudd says, "Aren't you curious? Aren't you at least a bit curious what your father's been saying and how he's trying to reach out to you?" So they decide to go on this trip with the mother's like strict guidelines. I want to be called every 3 hours. I want to know who's going where. I want an update all the time. Here's take all the medicines. Make sure that your car is fixed before you take my son across country. Blah 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 blah. So they do. They start making their trek. They stop by and they see the world's biggest cow. And at first they almost didn't get to see it because the cow is a stuffed cow. It's been dead for years. And it's on the second floor of this building. And they're not handicap accessible. And Paul Rudd has this great whole thing where he's just like, this is bullshit. We came here to see the fucking cow, and you're going to make sure that happens, or I'm going to call a bunch of media. They're going to come in. They're going to say that you are, incapable of helping a handy-capable person. And then you're going to be known as that guy. And the next shot is like 2 or 3 guys trying to lug up Trevor in his wheelchair just to look at this cow. And they look at this. They stand there for about a good total of 20 seconds to stare at it. And it's stiff and it's looking back right at them. And they look at each other and say, "All right, we done?" He's like, yeah, that was good. And they have to lug this fucking kid back down. All this effort, all this work, just for like, oh, okay, that was cool, let's go. And it was great. You could tell they were both fucking with these guys. Now, this is a buddy road trip type movie, but it's not just the two of them, because you can't have a coming of age story without throwing a girl in the mix. And the girl is Selena Gomez, not the actress. She plays a character named Dot, who's sort of a runaway. She's 20, 21 years old, and she's trying to hitchhike to Denver. And they see her at one point, and he immediately clams up, and she's like, "Hey, nice, those are cool shoes." And he's so nervous, he doesn't know what to say. He just says mall. Like he got them at the mall, but all he says was mall. And Paul Rudd kind of gives him shit. He's like, that wasn't even a sentence. That was you had the least amount of words you could say to a girl, but still count as a conversation. He said, Ma is the same. And on top of that, you lied. You didn't get into the mall. You got online. He's like, yeah, but she doesn't know that. So they see this girl later, and they offer to give her a ride. So now they're taking her to Denver, and of course Trevor is just falling hard for her because let's face it, Selena Gomez is a very attractive woman, and in this particular film, she's the type of girl or woman that is very much ballsy, feisty, and it's sort of a derogatory term because those are only really useful to describe a woman who's not acting girly. You wouldn't call a guy feisty. Feisty's very much that woman, she's feisty. She's meaning she swears, she smokes, she says what's on her mind. Listen, I grew up in the Bay Area. All women are like that. I know there are women that are more macho than certain men in the Bay Area. So this didn't faze me. I grew up with plenty of Dots. That's her character's name, is Dot or Dottie. She didn't faze me. But I can understand it's important for her character to be crass, obnoxious, beautiful, and full of life, but also full of cynicism, to go along with Trevor, who is just as much full of cynicism, but because he's like, I'm going to die, I don't care what I say. My lifespan is shorter than yours, probably. So I'm going to be an asshole because assholes have more fun. She is very much... They fit together, and she calls him on his bullshit. She speaks her mind. At one point, they decide, he wants to make the move and he wants to ask her on a date. and he and Paul Rudd are in the hotel, and she's in another adjoining room. And he said, "Man, I'm hungry. Let's go get something to eat." And he says, "Do you think it's possible that you're just not? Could you not be hungry tonight?" And he's like, "Oh, I see you and her. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'll hang out here. You guys can go eat." And then she comes to the door. She's like, "Man, I'm starving. Let's go get something to eat." And Paul Rudd's like, "Actually, I'm pretty tired. I'm gonna hang out here. Why don't you guys go and have a good time?" And she looks at both of them and she's like, "You guys are fucking obvious. Like, come on, that's the best you can do." And they're both look at each other just like totally caught, not knowing what to say. And she just gets low to Trevor. She's like, "Trevor, do you want to take me out on a date? Or you want to ask me on a date? Is that what you want to do?" And he just stares at her and just says, "Yes, I do." And she's like, "All right, knock on my door when you're ready," and leaves. And all of a sudden, he's nervous, and they have a great time. They just go to across the street, and Paul Rudd is sitting there looking through the window, just sort of not creepily watching them, but he's still chaperoning, but he's keeping his distance. He's just sort of looking out the window and across the street, and they're sitting near the window at the diner, and it's almost entertaining. And he's just like, you could see this is what he didn't ever get to see with his son. He didn't get to see, he didn't get to help his son go on his first date, and he does it with this kid. So it is helping himself, and he's helping this kid at the same time. Um, Along the way, there is they pick up another person in need, a very heavily pregnant woman named Peaches. That's all they get for her name is Peaches. And her husband and the father of her baby is deployed in Afghanistan. And that's all they ever really talk about him. Apart from that, he was like a hero in Afghanistan or something like that. So, um, at one point, I don't want to ruin the whole thing because it is a movie that you can enjoy without me having to ruin. But there's a part that I really have to acknowledge. Um, I just because I just happened to mention this actor in another movie that I reviewed, Chef. Bobby Cannavale shows up, and he is Dottie's dad. And throughout the film, as they're driving across country, Paul Rudd keeps noticing this car following him, and he keeps thinking it's either his ex-wife sending someone to tail him for the divorce papers, or it's Trevor's mom's Trevor's mom sending someone to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Turns out it's Dottie's dad. He's just like, she ran away from home. I know she's going to Denver. I'm not going to stop her, but I just want to make sure she's okay. And I want to keep he's like, if it's okay with you, I want to keep my distance and just just follow you guys. Is that all right? He's like, Paul Rudd's like, yeah, that's fine. So this film is beautiful. And I was not expecting it. And it really kind of hit me a couple times because I've been told that my father is elderly and he's disabled. And I've helped him a lot in his he suffered an accident about 10 years ago, and I had to help him. I had to help bathe him. I had to help him with his bandages. I had to help, and he's also 79. And, I do what I can to help him. Not to the extent where if he had shit, I wiped his ass. But I was told repeatedly that I should get into caretaking and help people take care of old people and young people and people who need help. I have an affinity for understanding the elderly. I listen to the same music. I've seen the same movies they watch. I've crooned to many elderly women's Sinatra songs and have gotten plenty of cookies and lipstick, kisses on my cheeks ever since I was a little kid. So I know old people. I know caretaking. This movie did not make me want to pursue it more or deter me more. It just me. I still have a very neutral idea of whether I should do it or not. I've been told I should, but I'm working on myself before, and that's actually what I did actually learn from this movie, and what affected me when it came to should I be a caretaker, was the very beginning, which was make sure you work on yourself. Make sure you help yourself as well as you help the person. I think I should help myself more first. So that's what I'm doing right now. These little videos that I do, they may seem insignificant to you guys, and they may seem fun and something that I'm just trying, but this actually gives me a lot of happiness to do. I recently been suffering from anxiety, and I've suffered from depression a lot, and I had a really, really bad day today. Um, what I thought I was helping someone out, doing a favor, and it blew up in my face, and I was chewed out because of it. And it affected me in a very negative way, and I had a panic attack. And I had to actually call work and say, I can't come in right now. I need an hour. This is a family emergency. And it affected me. So I had to work on myself today. And that's why I do these videos. I knew that I was going to have to end the day with a video to calm down and talk about a movie. So this movie actually did help me in a weird way. And thank you, Panda, for recommending it to me. And it is a beautiful film. Um, the cast is great. The kid who plays Trevor, I don't remember his name. He's great. He's sardonic and he's sarcastic and he's witty. He's got good delivery. Selena Gomez actually surprisingly is very good in this. And I hate to say she's feisty, but she's feisty. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but she's good in this. Doesn't phase me. I'm used to her type, but she's good in this. The woman who plays Peaches was kind of boring, very one dimensional, and is in it so brief that you almost forget there's a pregnant woman with her, or with the group. Like, it's just they almost didn't need it. And it was really unnecessary. I actually was more interested in Bobby Cannavale's character. He looked, a father who's aware he's not wanted, but he's still following his family just to make sure, or is following his daughter just to make sure she's okay. I find that just as interesting. I find that more interesting than a woman who's hitchhiking who's pregnant, personally. The woman who played Trevor's mother, at first I was like, oh my god, Emma Thompson got young again. But it looks like Emma Thompson, and because they're both British, it sounds like her. Not Emma Thompson, and I don't know who it is, but she's good in this too. From my understanding, this is based on a book. I had no clue. I had no clue this was based on a book, and now I want to read the book. I'm curious of how the book is. Um, did I love it? No, I didn't love it, but I really enjoyed watching it. And I enjoyed Paul Rudd, and I enjoy Paul Rudd a whole lot more. This was a really good level of drama. And he's still funny. It's still a funny film. This is definitely a dramedy. Um, and it's also a very coming of age story, and it's also a road trip story. So it's got a lot of different genres all melded into one. I didn't love the film, but I really enjoyed the film. Would I watch it again? I would watch it again, but I wouldn't watch it again immediately. I would wait maybe a couple years to rewatch it again. Um, but it's on Netflix. Please, if you have a chance to watch it, please give it a shot. Once again, it's the fundamentals of caring, and um, I'd probably give it 3.5 stars. Some pacing is a little off. It does kind of feel slow. Not that I wasn't interested, but like I said, the pregnant subplot, not so much interesting. There were some parts that were predictable, but once the things that I predicted showed up, I was like, okay, it was a good scene. Um, but yeah, I'd give it 3.5 stars, which to me is a good film. It's not amazing. It's not a classic. But I definitely enjoyed the chemistry, and there were times where I laughed out loud. I'm like, which I don't really do to some movies. Like it really takes a lot to make me laugh out loud. Most of the time, if something's funny, I'll find it funny, but I'll laugh on the inside or I'll do a small chuckle. But this, I was laughing out loud a couple times, so it does get some recognition and some credibility from me. Um, Once again, thank you, Panda, for recommending this to me. I'm looking forward to the next one, and please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Love you all to death. Bye, guys.